Hello, good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. My name is Harry and as always we are live here on YouTube Tuesday night 8 PM, and for the very last time this season, season 11, we are here at round 12, the final round of the season, and we come into this one with a championship hanging in the balance. Monster Blue versus Hutari. We have got an hour or so, probably an hour and a half of fantastic racing, hopefully on the way to all you guys, and I'm sure it'll be a nail biter for particularly the two championship rivals. But before we get into that, of course I've got to welcome my teammate on a Monday night, and of course my co-commentator for this evening, Scott. Are you excited for this one? Have you got your calculator ready, more importantly?
Yeah, we're going to need some quick maths tonight, I think, obviously going through what's going on. Really looking forward to this one. Monster Blue, in my eyes, has been pretty dominant. Hutari's been very consistent. With Monster Blue making one or two mistakes at the second half of the season, it's really put him on the back foot for this final round. So I'm really looking forward to this. We've got a few drivers on the grid that really, have got the pace to be up there on the podium. Rudy, we've got Mr. Gareth Hall back again. He's come back with a vengeance tonight. He wants to come out with a strong result. Speak. We've got a lot of people, but DX, Monster Blue, and Hutari are definitely going to be making my brain work hard with the math calculations.
Definitely so. But thankfully, we have got some things that we can also go through. How the parameters, if you like, for the title showdown. Of course, the constructors already wrapped up. AlphaTauri have dominated the constructors championship this season. Of course, that is the dream team of Mashiro and Hutari. A massive well done to the pair of them. They will have a trophy on their doorstep very, very soon over the end season break. But of course, we still have another trophy to our drivers champion of this season, and the permutations are Monster Blue comes into this one with a 7-point lead over Hutari. He was in a position to take the championship in the previous round in Russia before crashing out early on in the race from the lead, and well, the good news is he's got another chance of taking the championship tonight, and he is still the favourite. Hutari did an excellent drive to claim fastest lap and P2 in Russia to claim a good solid 13 points, and he's given himself, through sheer consistency, a chance at the title this evening, despite only taking the one win compared to Monster Blue's 5. And but these guys, so for Monster Blue to claim the Drivers' Championship tonight, he just needs to match or finish ahead of Hutari. He can finish on the podium, he can finish 4th with fastest lap, ensure Hutari does not outscore him by 8 points. Any of those will be good enough for him to be crowned the Drivers' Champion for this evening. And for Hutari, he needs to be aiming for a finish on the podium with Monster Blue 9th or lower to win the race with fastest lap. Monster Blue 4th or lower to win the race with Monster Blue 5th or lower. That was of course without fastest lap. 2nd and fastest lap with Monster Blue in 6th or lower would be good enough for the title as well. Or of course just outscore Monster Blue by any means possible by 8 points will be enough to gain himself a drivers' championship. And of course these two would be in great company. They're both going for their first titles here at Invictus, in terms of drivers' titles I should say, and they're in fine company. We've got Notorious in season 3, No Fuds for You season 4 F2 champion, M Doran season 5 F2 champion, Betrayer 46 season 6 drivers champion, Nick LJ Thompson season 7, the Warslander, Lozak and Jakob in the past 3 seasons. And let's say they're in good company there, Scott. We've raced with a few of them. I've commentated on a few of them as well. I think the ones we're both probably more used to knowing is particularly the likes of Warslander, Lozak and Jakob, who have come up through F1 in the past few seasons. But I think it's got to say the ones that great champions, the fast champions, I think particularly the likes of Warslander, we saw in his debut season in F1 after being crowned F2 champion, went up to F1, got himself a few pole positions and was beating the likes of Hercules, Jon Polainen, in qualifying, and having some really good races. He's immediately put himself up with the best in F1, and I think you've got to say the pedigree and the speed of Monster Blue and Hutari, they've got that chance as well. In fact, actually, I've got to stop myself because we will be having a 1-minute silence, of course, for Remembrance Sunday, for all those soldiers who lost their lives. I know. I will go back to great respect from the drivers as well, also taking part in that. And I will go back to my question, Scott. Monster Blue and Hutari, they really are in there with what you could describe as the fastest and best F2 champions. They are both really willing and really deserving of the championship, should either one of them get it this evening.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, they both deserve, their best shot. A bit like you from last night. You and Gamer both deserve the best shot. When you're up there and you've come in, to the championship and you've got to the last round, in contention of winning, then you deserve the best drive of your life. The best drive of the season. It's one of them. The guys here, like ourselves, we take it seriously. It's a bit of fun, but it's very addictive. When you're consistently at the top and you want to win. When you get to this last round, the nerves kick in, and a bit like Monster Blue last time out. He was leading, he had a comfortable lead. The nerves do get to you, and you make mistakes, and it showed from him last week that anything is possible. If Monster Blue's leading, Hutari needs to know not to give up, because there could be safety cars at this track, and there's going to be wing damage. There's going to be cars everywhere. It's going to be a really chaotic race, but I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's quite rightly pointed out, 12 rounds, it's a long season. There's many tracks we've been to which are so easy to make mistakes. Not, of course, Monte Carlo as well has been on the calendar this season as well, and of course this is another one where you're going to have to really look out for that front wing as well as Monaco. In fact, last night's champion of F1, back-to-back champion now, even said this track is probably worse for wing damage than Monaco, just because the walls are just so tight as ever, and of course a little bit faster corners around here than you get in Monaco. That last sector is so incredibly unforgiving, and I think got a yellow flag in there. I think it might just drivers getting out of the way, but 16 cars on the grid tonight. It's great to see a lot of them, as we see Mr. Steen coming around turns 2 and 3. I think we've got Speed Queen just getting out of the way in time, and Mr. Steen getting his rhythm in F2 tonight. He usually races on a Wednesday in F3, but to boost the numbers this evening, he's back up in his trusty house. Of course, he was in the F2 for about the first half of the season, and he's had a very respectful return, I'd say, since his last couple of races here this evening. But we'll see how he can do, and of course the two championship rivals of Hutari, who's on an outlap. Monster Blue in a Mercedes is also on a flying lap, just started in fact, the Mercedes driver, and of course he holds a 7-point advantage, and of course this will be an incredibly nerve-wracking qualifying for him, as we've already pointed out. He'll be a little bit disappointed with himself after slipping away a great opportunity to seal the championship just a week ago, as it just runs over that little exit curve after, well, it's basically a roundabout, isn't it? And it's one of the hardest traction zones to get a good launch out of it, but it's absolutely crucial you do so, because this is such an incredibly long straight. And Scott, we've got a few more drivers in here. We've got the a few of the F3 lot, of course Gareth as well, which we saw last race. But who have you got your eye on as well? We've got Jamie Ryan also making his start in F2 tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We know, Mr. Steen, he had a solid race, solid pace, should I say, last time out. We know Gareth when he's on it, he can be, as good and as quick as the guys in this league. So it is going to be looking for, be exciting. I think the one in my eyes who I think is going to do really well tonight is probably going to be Rudy. He's really come along strong. He then started, I think, second half of the season, and I think the lowest he's come so far is 4th. He's been driving well. He's had podiums. I think, for me, he's been very consistent. So for me, I think Rudy will be another standout performance tonight. As we've seen that Monster Blue's gone straight out and done a 33.3, which is 7/10 quicker than Mashiro. Welcome back, Mashiro. I think he's feeling a little bit better. He's been down in the dumps last couple of weeks. So hopefully he's feeling well enough to compete tonight, so it's good to see him back. But yeah, my eyes are on obviously Monster Blue and Hutari to see what they can do, but I think Rudy is going to definitely try and give it to him, and we know what Roy Boy's like as well, Harry.
Yeah, Roy Boy has certainly been a little bit of a thorn in the side of the championship contenders after Roy Boy, I think, missed the first 3 rounds of the season, and he's had a couple of on-off results, but his pace has been really remarkable this season, particularly since the halfway point. and certainly got himself a couple of podiums as well in the last few races. Most of these guys have had their first final laps in. It looks like quite a few guys coming back out or going back into the pit lane. And in terms of the tyre choices, well, it's well, should we say it's a little bit unknown really. Since for a lot of these guys, this will be the first time they are doing this circuit in a league race on F1 2020. We saw quite a lot of different strategies last night. We saw the top three making a one-stop strategy work, the soft tyre, and then onto the hards, probably from around lap 6, lap 7 onwards, onto the hard tyres to the end. They should get you there pretty comfortably. If you're particularly kind on your tyres, you can do a soft medium one stop. I think it's unlikely we'll see people try and risk that one this evening. You'll have to go pretty long onto those soft tyres if you're to make that one work. Popular strategy we saw last night is a two-stop, soft medium medium, or soft medium soft. The soft tyre is probably the better race tyre to the mediums, in fact, because the mediums don't tend to last too much longer than the soft tyres. They hold their speed a little bit better, but the softs aren't too bad a race tyre. And of course the free stop as well. If you get damaged on lap 1, sadly I found out all too well, the free stop was just going onto the soft tyres for 3 straight stints. Can also help you recover a few positions as well. And it looks like we've got Jake in the Renault coming around the final turn as he's about to set what will be his, I think, second run, but he's still yet to get a lap time onto the board as we come down into such a tricky turn 1 is quite alright, but turns 2 and 3 here as this is right, then suddenly sharpens into turn 3, drops it down into 3rd gear, and then turn 4, and then this little right here is turn 5. Very easy to snap an end plate off on that wall on the right hand side. He tucks over to the left hand side. We're going to go into the roundabout section, should we call it, turn 6. You can effectively cut it, as you see Jake doing that absolutely perfectly, hopping over the curb to turn 7, take a wide line and go tight to allow you to get on the throttle on the exit of turn 9, and of course turn 10 halfway down this long straight. Of course you don't want a lot of aero on your KR setup as this is turn 10 here, because they will really impede your straight line speed and ability to overtake as it goes left hand side of the Williams of Hulkenberger, so he's shot down into 1st gear. A couple of short shifts on the exit of turns 11 and 12, the 90-degree right of turn 13 as we begin the slalom S's of the final sector. This is really where your lap is made or broken. An incredible complex of corners. He holds it in 6th gear as we come around turn 19 now, and then a sharp left to turns 20. Hold it down into 4th gear, and of course into the second to last corner, turn 22, one of the hardest corners to nail, and you want to be nice and smooth on the power as Jake has done. It just clips that inside wall, and then that is what we're going to be seeing a lot of tonight. Clips the inside wall, shunts him wide into the outside wall. He won't be the only driver doing that tonight, Scott.
No, I found that out, didn't I, last night, Harry, with my one and only quali run, and I ended up bottling it at turn 23, which is it's actually a really difficult corner, I think, because you go into turn 22 with quite a lot of understeering. There's not a lot of grip at that corner, and then when you turn in for turn 23, the grip's there, and it just catches you out because there is so much grip there. So yeah, like you said, we'll be seeing that quite a few times tonight. I'm just on board with Gareth Hall. He's coming round now. He's just about to come through turn 23 now. Hopefully he stays out of the wall. He does. He's on the medium tyres, so he comes across the line to 136.7. I think that's just a nice banker for him. Just getting used to the car, getting used to the track. I've seen that Mashiro's actually gone out on the medium set of tyres too, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of lap time he does. But once again, Monster Blue, as he's done for quite a few times this season, is he's gone out and set a banker, which is pretty much going to be probably his pole lap time, which he might improve near towards the end. But it's a great banker from him, I think.
Yeah, he's currently on pole position by 7/10 of a second, and Mashiro out of medium tyres. His closest challenger doesn't look all too keen to use another set of soft tyres to try and better it, as we see Rudy in the Williams, who has been a revelation really since he's come into the league, joined the league in Hungary, and in those 3 rounds he has got himself a 2nd place, a 4th place and a race victory, despite ever I've just been called a bottle job in the live chat, which is always good to say. Thank you Baz. Lost my train of thought there. It really goes up to P2 and a 30.0. And yeah, so he really has been absolutely fantastic since joining the league, and it'd be great to see what he can do over a full course of a season in F2 next season, which will be getting underway in January. So we'll see how he can do. Despite not always showing the best pace in qualifying, he has definitely been himself as a real Sunday racer in terms of making up positions, making the most of other people's mistakes and moving through the field. As it looks like Monster Blue's going purple in this middle sector. Could he be improving any more as Harry in the Renault jumps up into P2 and that the second man into the 33s with a 0.9. Hutari currently down in P10 on a 34.6, so he's got to find 1.3 plus whatever Monster Blue finds on this lap is improved by another 6/10 of a second. Hutari has got a mountain to climb right about now as he's gone over the line, so I don't think he's actually improved his original banker there. He's got 6 minutes on the clock, so he has got time to go out again and try something. So we'll see how that one goes as Mashiro is coming into the pit lane. So I'm not sure. I don't see him get a set of lap time on the medium tyres. He could well have just been towing his teammate on that lap and just Hutari not quite getting the lap sorted as he would have liked. But a great lap there from Harry in the Renault, jumping up into P2. But at the moment, we've got one man in the 32s and only one other man in the 33s. He's on provisional pole by 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, fantastic lap time. You know, that's, I think, that I put in front row last night. So, yeah, great lap yet again from Monster Blue. You know, he's been dominant. You know, to win championships, you have to do well and be consistent up the front. You know, and for him, I do think that qualifying this season has really helped him dominate this championship. You know, and getting the results that he's done this season, because it's like you found last night. If you're in the pack, it is really difficult. Especially when all the guys are so closely matched to really overtake it and get the overtakes done without any wing damage. So when you're qualifying on the front row, pretty much pole position in every round, it makes your life a goddamn lot easier, I think, for the race.
Yeah, and it's peace of mind. When you're going for a championship, you really don't want to be putting pressure, needless pressure on yourself when you've already got the pressure of going for a championship on your shoulders. So yeah, Monster Blue getting the early bankers in, and he's looking a real shoe-in with 4 minutes 30 on the clock for another pole position this season, as they're watching quite a few drivers peel into the pit lane. 4 minutes 20 on the clock, so a lot of these guys will be preparing their final runs. And Monsieur on an out lap right about now. And I do apologise to Hulkenberg. We was going to try and ride on board for his final lap, but we had a horrible engine bug of his car, just revving on the max with the entirety of it. And I don't want to curse anyone's ears, including mine, of having to witness that for an entire lap. So hopefully try and jump back on board with Hulkenberg later on in the session without that horrible bug. Moreno into P7 as well in the Racing Point. We'll have a little catch up with the rest of the field. Mr. Steen, an excellent qualifying so far in P6. Simply Superman in the McLaren is doing a rather nice job in P5, and Mashiro just starting his what will be surely his last flying lap now as he comes down into turn 1. He'll be doing all he can to try and pit Monster Blue under a little bit of pressure to just try and help his teammate all he can, but of course Hutari not quite helping himself down in P11, but of course you can't go for the alternate strategies. Oh, Mashiro gets also close on the exit of the wall, turn 5. He's emerged from it with still a front wing and a front right tyre on his AlphaTauri, so he could be pleased about that one. His teammate has come out the pitch just behind him as well, and I think Moreno also not too far behind. We've got Jamie Ryan in the Ferrari also on his last flying lap. Jake in the Renault in P10 also on a flying lap right about now, so these times will be coming in thick and fast, but we need to see another driver into the 32s, never mind the 33s, if we're to see a challenge to Monster Blue's provisional pole position down the long straight, as we'll be looking for the breaking point now of turn 11 around the 100-metre point, and looks like Michel's got it pretty comfortable out of that one, as they're pretty calm on the power as well, as we begin the awful last sector. I mean, it's really you really do have to be on it, Scott, and Mashiro, well, he's going to have to find about a second, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely right. But yeah, as you say, sector 3, you have to be so precise, but you've also got to be so committed, because if you're not quite committed enough, you end up making a slight mistake running wide, and I think really for me sector 3 is where you can gain the most amount of time if you can nail that. But just seen now that that's not a bad lap at all from Mashiro, a 33.0 there. That's a very good lap from him, actually. Only 3/10 off of Monster Blue. He's come back, he's still not feeling 100%. I think he'll be really, really happy with that. Hopefully for Hutari, Gary, have you got an instant?
Yeah, it's Jake in the Renault in P10, and he was just being a little bit too, should we say, happy on the throttle in the second to last corner, pushing that last lap, and he just spun the car around and into the wall. He's now minus an entire front wing, so he'll have to go out. Well, he won't have time to come back out, so P10 will be his best position. Hutari is half a tenth up in this first sector, and it'd be somewhat cheered on, I suppose, by the fact his teammate has got within 3/10 of Monster Blue as Jake retires from the session, understandably so. And Mashiro is playing the team game. He's already wrapped up the constructors for his teammate, and he pulls over to the left-hand side. A little bit of a slipstream there for the Finnish driver. And what Hutari is going to be picking that 100-metre board, maybe even a little bit later, as now comes through turn 11. This little left-hand side there, that wall is considered as turn 12. What's his middle sector split? And he's gone purple, so it's about 4.5 up. So if he can nail this last sector, he could jump himself up quite a few positions. He's going to have to find about 6 or 7 tenths to get himself on the second row at least. He's got a little wiggle on in the middle of these S's, maybe going a little bit wide there, but he's absolutely driving the wheels of this AlphaTauri car. He needs to get it on at least the second row, you'd imagine, to give himself a real chance of giving Monster Blue a headache in the race as he rounds the last corner, just tapping the inside wall. I think he might have got away with it just about, but he's lost time in that last sector. Goes up into P7 with people still improving behind him. We've got Monster Blue on another flying lap. He's just started. We'll see what his first sector split is. He's going 8 thousandths quicker. What can Harry and the Renault do? He's coming up to the middle sector split. Currently in a fantastic third position is the Renault driver, another one who joined mid-season. He's going just under about half a tenth quicker in that middle sector. We've got Rudy on a lap as well. Where is the Williams driver? He's invalidated, so that would be another driver who is likely to challenge Monster Blue, potentially out. But Harry will be next to cross the line. Currently sat in P3. And he has shown quite a bit of pace since joining, but he's yet to perhaps get the result to match for it. As he comes around the final turn, flicks up and DOS comes across the line, improves by 2/10, so 33.7. So he'll be pleased with that. Rudy has invalidated, as we already know. We've got a few cars coming up to the line. I think starting with potentially, I think Gareth might be in the last corner. No, it's actually Mr. Steen. So it would be one of the McLarens, or it might even be SD Mats round in the final corner. Currently in P14. He jumps up into P12. I think we've got Moreno. No, that's Roy Boy. Jumps up into P3. We've got Simply Superman. And where's this Monster Blue coming around the final corner? Is he going to go even quicker still? No, I don't think he has. He's done a 33.2 still, which should be more than good enough for pole position. You would imagine Speed Queen comes around the final corner and improves all the way up by 2.1 seconds to go up into 6th position. And Hutari is going to be starting this one from P10, which you've got to say, Scott, is actually probably maybe one of the worst positions he could have started, because he's going to be starting on qualified old soft tyres. And everyone else behind him is going to be on fresh tyres, maybe even alternate strategies onto the mediums. And well, he's got a lot of ground to make up.
It's just like last night, isn't it? It is just like last night. It's Hutari has got, like you said, a lot of work to do, and he is, possibly on the worst sort of position on the grid, where he's at the back of the guys that have got used tyres for the first stint. He's also right in the pack, and again he's in the middle of the pack as well. You don't want to be in the middle of the pack. You want to be at the front, middle of the pack. Turn 1, we know how tight turn 1 is, and turn 2 and 3 gets even tighter when you've got 16 cars coming through. So it's going to be very difficult for Hutari, but we know how consistent he's been. We know how patient he can be behind other vehicles, cars. So if Hutari can do what he's done before in the last few races and just be patient, then I think he'll do just fine. Yeah,
well, we obviously, of course, wish all our drivers, but especially those going for the title, the best of luck for what will be a very long 28 laps around this Vietnamese circuit, I am sure. But Monster Blue takes another pole position. Mashiro did really well at 33.0, half a second quicker than anyone else behind him. Simply Superman up into P3, Roy Boy, fantastic lap, P4, Harry, Speed Queen, Mr. Steen are the next few cars, and Jamie Ryan as well in F2 for the first time this evening. in P8. Rudy and Hutaro round out the top 10. Moreno, Hulkenberger, Jake, Estimates, McGlubby and Gareth all round out the back 3 rows, but we'll have the benefit of choosing and starting on a brand new set of tyres, which I'm sure they will not be wanting to waste on a circuit where strategy is so in the dark, and you really have got so many options. You said you've got 1 stop, you've got the 2 stop, or even the 3 stop if it comes to it. But it's a lovely sunny day for these guys, which I'm sure will be a little bit better news for Monster Blue than necessarily Hutari. I'm sure Hutari will be hoping for an absolutely chaotic race to give himself all the chances he can possibly have, as these guys will just be prepping their setups and of course their strategy and their fuel load to their biggest effect. Of course, it's a 3.4 mile long lap and 23 turns, and of course if you are looking forward to the race starting and of course looking forward to more action we've got coming up here on Invictus, as we've got more title deciders yet to come later on this week, including you'll see Mr. Scott Bugner going for the championship on a Thursday after he couldn't quite wrap it up, or neither of us could, on Monday night for constructors. He's got a chance at the drivers in Realistic Performance League, so make sure you tune in for that one. But of course Wednesday nights we have F3 and F4 live on YouTube, which you can find live 8 PM Wednesday. Of course Ryan and Jakob will be bringing you that one for F3. Thursday night Realistic Performance with Malk and Tim live on YouTube 8 PM. And of course after all that, I think we might have next week Wednesday we will be having the round of Spa of the F3 and F4 leagues, as that was cancelled earlier on in the season. But we have our sign-ups all beginning, applications all opening very soon. You can find them all on our social media channels of how you get yourself involved for next season, which will be starting in just a few short months time, probably after Christmas and New Year. But the socials, you can find us at Invictus Racing League for Instagram, Twitter at Invictus RBrail. You can find us on Facebook for photo albums, interviews and news of all your favourite drivers. And of course all of those watching and you like what you see, well, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you are enjoying. Of course, get in the comment section, get chatting away. Who are you supporting this evening? Who do you think is going to be taking the championship home this evening? And of course it's looking, the odds are very firmly stacked in Monster Blue's favour, aren't they, Scott?
They are indeed. Let's just say he's done half a job so far, hasn't he? He's done the bit he needed to get on the front row, get on pole position. We know how dominant. If he can get himself a good start and sort of get himself just out of the DRS zone, we know how confident he is with it, and he can just drive off into the distance like he has done so many times this season. Best of luck to him, best of luck to Mishiro, and best of luck to Hutari. Well done to, like you said, to Mishiro and Hutari for the constructors. They've been dominant and very consistent. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Hutari works. I went in with a mindset of elbows out last night. You've got to go for it. You've got to do what you can. Is he going to be patient? Is he going to sort of do a couple of bold moves where he knows he needs points? It's going to be really interesting. He's got the likes of Speed Queen and Mr. Steen, Rudy, Jamie Ryan, all to overtake, Roy Boy. It's going to be really fascinating, I think, and like I said, the safety car's probably going to coming out, and it's too close to call, but I'm not going to ask you who you think's going to do it. We'll wait until the end.
I mean, it's a wise choice, and I think to say, Michelle in a very similar position as yourself last night with your teammate, of course, going for the Drivers' Championship, and quite far down the order as obviously I was in last night. But of course at least Mashiro has got the pressure of fight for constructors as well, which of course you had. He's got that one sealed and stamped with his name on it, and of course Utari as well. So regardless of what happens, those two will be champions this season of constructors. And of course Monster Blue, well, we know he's thrown to a mistake, is dominant as he has been, particularly in qualifying, and as well as he's driven all season. We saw it in Monaco when he DNF'd, and we saw it last week out in Russia when he also DNF'd from the lead. So he has got a mistake in him, despite how well and how good a driver he really is. But they all lined up. It was a very quick formation lap for Monster Blue, who seemed determined to get this formation lap over and done with. He wants to be green racing as soon as possible. I can't see them, but I believe we've got all 5 red lights, and it looks like we are underway as Monster Blue looks like he's got a spirited start, as Mashiro looking like he's come under a little bit of pressure from the McLaren or Simply Superman. He's going to have a look down the inside of Mashiro. Mashiro's going to, oh, there's a contact. I think that's Speed Queen. I saw a front wing flying up all over the place. Got Harry cutting the inside, being forced out wide. He's on the inside of Roy Boy into turn 3 and 4. Got a yellow flag. I think that's Speed Queen, who's dropped all the way at the back. Who is that? Is that Harry? Has gone straight on as well at turn 5. He couldn't get the car rotated enough. Mr. Steen trying to make up a few positions as well. It's been a fantastic start from Monster Blue. Mashiro got carbon fibre flying around everywhere. Oh my goodness me, they go 3-4 wide as Roy Boy is going wheel to wheel with Superman and Mr. Steen, and then Harry, oh my goodness me, it's 4 wide at the roundabout, and it looks like Harry's gone, and they're still side by side, Harry and Mr. Steen. Harry comes out on top of this one. Mr. Steen slots in behind him and P4, so good start for the Hash driver. And it's Roy Boy who slips down to 5th, and Simply Superman who's lost out as well. Jamie Ryan moving about. Hutari is trying to gain even more position. He's up into 7th place. So he's going on the attack. He's got the Ferrari on his left-hand side. He brakes late. Mr. Steen's lost his braking point into turn 11. He's gone wide on the Ferrari. Jamie Ryan just tags the rear of Hutari, almost sending him into a spin. Collects the car really well. He's made up 3 positions. Rudy is trying to make up. Oh, as Rudy has completely lost his braking point into turn 13. He's gone into the barrier, almost taking out the championship rival. And Hutari's actually lost a position from it. I think he's got away front wing damage, but it's all going off. As we've got a yellow flag. Is that Jake who's in the wall?
Well, all I can say is take a breather. Take a breather, because that was chaotic. That was Simply Superman going for a big sweaty dive bomb into turn 1. And it just caused a big effect, and you know, the Constantino effect was just mayhem. I didn't even see what happened to Speed Queen, but look how many drivers have got in the pits. It's but I do feel for Speed Queen, because she put herself, you know, really high up on the grid. I thought she'd done really well there, so it's a big shame for her. She just, again, she hasn't had that luck this season. But Hutari as well, nearly kicking the back end out. I thought he was going round. I thought that could have been championship bye-bye, but he carried it on. He's done well. He's I think he's gained 1 position. But Gareth Hall, 6 positions in 1 lap. He has done superb, hasn't he? But no, the battle at the front between Simply Superman, Harry, Roy Boy, and Mr. Steen, 4 wide, was absolutely spectacular, and you know, very optimistic from Harry. He went for it up the inside. He took the place, and well, I've got to say, I was holding my breath through there, I can tell you that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, but the way it worked out for him, I think he must have been incredibly brave, because it was incredibly a bold thing to do on lap 1, but hey, it's worked out for him, and he's in a podium position as it stands on lap 2 of 28. It's been a disaster for the 2 Williams cars, both of them double stacking after damage on lap 1. So the Williams cars as well not having a great start. Speed Queen seems to be minus the front wing before she even got to turn 1. It was all chaos at a real bottleneck into turn 1. So cars going wide on the runoff. McLaughlin, as usual this season, seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, as Gareth and SD Matt seem to be going wheel to wheel. There's no, I think SD Max might have just made a mistake and it's allowed Gareth through there. DRS is now enabled. Roy Boy and Simply Superman seem to be carrying on their little spouts for 4th and 5th position, which is allowing Harry to get away. In fact, it could well be damage to the McLaren. Is in fact, if you look to the right hand side of that front wing end plate, the McLaren driver is minus a lot of downforce, so you can see him squirming out of that corner out of turn 1. He's minus front wing end plate, and clearly a little bit of overheating those rear tyres, and Roy Boy looks desperate to get past the McLaren driver. Mr. Steen as well also got DRS on the pair. Is Roy Boy going to be patient, or is he going to send it down? No, he's going to be patient. He's going to wait for the long straight and use his slipstream and straight line speed, and of course the DRS button, to get himself back through into 4th place ahead of, well, I'll let you go.
No, so Superman just going through the what we class as the roundabout section. He just clipped that curve on the left hand side, and if you clip that on acceleration, I've done it a couple of times in practice, it really stings the car out. And Roy Boy just going into the back of Simply Superman, but luckily enough, not enough to give him wing damage. He's gone to the outside. Simply Superman now into the hairpins, come back up the inside. But you talking about Simply Superman's wing damage, that actually come from him, I think, outbraking himself into turn 1, and he went straight into the side of Mashiro. So Mashiro was quite lucky to get away with that one, and I think that's what caused the bottleneck effect But these cars are absolutely together. Oh, Royboy's hit the wall. I don't know if he got wing damage in that. Yep. He got wing damage, yeah. It's a big understeer moment there from Royboy. You know, like I said before this, it is so hard to really nail that sector 3. But Mr. Steen now is on the back, and Hutari now needs to start catching up to the back of these guys. You know, he needs to get up to the back of these and start picking them off one by one if he wants to, get anywhere near Monster Blue, who's already nearly got a 2-second advantage.
Yeah, he's certainly doing his best, Hutari, and the good news for him is these 3 cars in front of him all battling, and of course 2 of them now have got front wing down. Simply Superman is losing time, hand over fist, 5 seconds back now from the Renault of Harry. So he's certainly losing a lot of time. Royboy now, through mistake of his own in the dirty air of the final sector, losing a front wing end plate as well. So it could be Mr. Steen's for the taking here. If he buys his time, Zesty Mats picks up a 3-second time penalty and retires in the pit lane. It looks like for the McLaren driver, so an early retirement for him on lap 4. And of course it's not really an enjoyable circuit for a lot of these guys, and a sad way for him to finish the season for SD Mats. And it's been a rocky, I think, season for him. He's had quite a few ups and downs, that's for sure. His best result coming in China, which I believe was a 5th place. I'm just looking back, so it's walking very close at the hairpin at turn 11, and Mr. Steen just picking his moment, just being a little bit patient. Hutari's still 1.5 seconds back. Has he got away with any? It doesn't look like visually that it's got any front wing damage. Of course, we saw Rudy completely missing his braking point and really slicing up the front of the AlphaTauri car, but I can't see any damage on that AlphaTauri, and he is slowly beginning to gain in on these 3 cars ahead of him. And Mashiro is keeping up with Monster Blue just about 1.8 seconds, but it could be a 2-horse race this one, because it looks like Harry could be in for a boring race unless it's a safety car, because he's 6 seconds behind and 6 seconds clear.
It might be a boring race for Harry, but if P3, which would be a very good result for him. But Simply Superman, his rear tyres, I've already said, I've had enough. He is all over place, he's sideways everywhere. But, like you said, Mr. Steen's just got to sit, but he doesn't want to sit for too long, because like you said, it's a 6-second gap to P3. Simply Superman, and Royboy are really doing a good job. With, they've both got damaged front wings, and this track isn't the best to overtake either. Mr. Steen needs to really try and cut it on the inside here, but Mr. Simply Superman, is just absolutely, that rear end does not like the surface at the minute. It's squirming all over the place. Mr. Steen's using a bit of battery now on the back of Royboy. Now, can he get, when he gets DRS, can he get left side? We've got a yellow flag. It's Williams off, I think, on the exit of the roundabout section. Oh my God, that was close.
Mr. Steen pushing Royboy to come. He spots his braking point to perfection for turn 11 to go wheel to wheel. Is this going to open the door for Simply Superman? They're 3 wide on the exit of turn 12. Simply Superman takes back 4th position, and Mr. Steen and Royboy going side by side into turn 13. Royboy thinks better of it, I think wisely so. So the position gain for Mr. Steen is quite ahead of the rating point of Royboy. He almost gone very close to replicating what Royboy did just a lap or 2 ago, of in the dirty air smashing into that outside wall, but just manages to steer his Haas car clear. But great driving from Simply Superman, coming back underneath the pair of them, even with front wing damage and without clearly not all too much grip in his rear tyres, because we are watching him almost drift around some of these corners. He's 7.5 seconds back from the run of Harris, so this podium for this lot might already become out of reach. Got a yellow flag in the last sector, and it's Hulkenberger. It looks like he's gone either straight on, and it's another virtual safety car. So I'm sure that's good news for the likes of Monster Blue, Mashiro and Harry in the Renault. Those front 3 guys who are pulling away quite considerably to the rest of the field. Not such good news for the likes of Speed Queen, Jake McLuppy and Rudy, who have got some work to do. Also, Gareth has fallen about 7 seconds off the back of Jamie Ryan, although still inside the top 10 and still inside the points playing positions. And Mr. Steen, I'm sure he'll be hoping that this virtual safety car is finished pretty soon before the end of this straight, so again, can have an attack at the McLaren driver, and they are looking like they're going pretty quick. But of course, you are still to a delta. The delta is not too strict usually. When you are on a straight, you are usually probably able to go 90 to 95% full throttle without losing too much time on the deltas. We are now green flag, but it's come at the perfect time for Superman. He doesn't have to even worry about defending into the breaking point of turn 11 as it comes around turns 12, and Hutari has got to move on Boy at some phase of this as well. He's up into P6 as the AlphaTauri driver, so he's trying to make his comeback, even though he is probably about 12 seconds off the race leader of Monster Blue, who's just managing that gap to Mashiro, and Harry as well, 6.4 seconds further back. But, Mr. Steen making an early pit stop on lap 7. You'd imagine, Scott, that would be for the hard tyres, which might not be a bad decision. Trying to get the undercut. You can see Mr. Boy's retired from the session.
Yeah, I didn't know if Boy had a problem with his internet or not, because Hutari, I noticed that Hutari had overtaken him. Boy had a cross next to his name, and then it looked like he had a bad internet connection. So, not too sure what's happened there to Boy, but he was in with quite a good shot of a good result again. But Hutari, once again, though, picked his way through from 10th on the grid. He's up to P5. He probably was hoping for a safety car, just a bunch up between him and Harry in third position. But he's doing what he can at the minute. He's doing a great job. He's got Simply Superman to sort of pick off now if he can. And then he's got to get his head down. He's got to really nail the second stint really to try and push onto the back of Harry, and fingers crossed for Hutari, really, or should I say he'll have his fingers crossed for a safety car to really spice it up. I would say towards 75% through the race. That's going to be my prediction.
It'd be good to see as Mr. Steen came out just ahead of the Alfa Romeo of Speed Green, who of course pitted under lap 1 after getting front wing damage practically before the apex of turn 1. It really was a bottleneck into the first corners. Looks like Hutari and Simply Superman are going wheel to wheel in the exit of turns 11 and 12, and looks like Hutari has got the job done. Looks like we've got McRugby potentially in the wall on the exit of turns 3. He's got that Red Bull facing the right way again as Mashiro dives into the pit lane, probably trying to do some sort of undercut to get himself closer to the back of the Mercedes of Monster Blue. So we'll see whereabouts he comes out. He probably could come out around about his teammates. In fact, Hutari actually comes into the pit lane as well. So both AlphaTauris pitting on the same lap. They should have been far enough apart to not lose any time. Should Hutari's Jamie Ryan also follows suit into the pit lane as Mashiro's gone onto the medium tyre, Scott. So he could be on for there's no way you can make them do 20 laps. So you've got to imagine that's got to be a two-stop strategy for the AlphaTauri driver. Yeah,
it's a very, very brave decision. Two-stop, it does work. A couple of guys last night did it. It's just he's probably on the right strategy for himself at the minute, because he hasn't really been caught up in any traffic for this next stint. So this next stint for him now is going to have to be, one hell of a stint. Because I would presume, if Monster Blue maybe might sort of react to this and pit on this lap, he probably will go on to what I'd say the hard tyre. So it will be quicker than Monster Blue for probably the first sort of 7 or 8 laps. And that's what he's got to really try and nail. So it could get interesting if I'm being honest with you. But it depends how long Mashiro can look after these tyres for, to how long he can go on. Maybe he can go on to the softs towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and I've just noticed Hutari's had a very long pit stop there. He's now 10 seconds off the back of Mr. Steen. So it just makes me wonder if he perhaps had maybe a light green front wing damage there on the AlphaTauri, because you would imagine that would of course bridge the gap that he's lost, because you'd think he'd lose maybe a little bit of time to Mr. Steen, who of course did the undercut, pitted a lap before. So but he's lost a lot of time there, Hutari, so he's going to have to try and gain it all back. So there is a case of potential damage as Mashiro 19 seconds behind race leader Monster Blue. It's not too long a pit stop under here. It is probably about somewhere between 18 to 20 seconds, so Mashiro could well be in the pit stop window of Monster Blue. You'd imagine Monster Blue just trying to eke the stints out a little bit longer to come on to a set of hard tyres to potentially go to the end. That's exactly what Simply Superman has done, as he's coming out the pit lane. Where's he going to come out? He's going to come out, he's still in the pit box, so probably having a change of front wing, because Mr. Steen has already gone through. We've got the Ferrari having a little bit of a problem at the second to last corner. Got Jamie Ryan, I think, just missing his braking point. That's going to allow Rudy to close up on him just that little bit more, as Monster Blue still staying out. In fact, as he's at turn 11, and of course these guys on the mediums, critical phase for these guys of Moreno and Gareth, So have done a good job of keeping their front wings intact, it looks like, as we'll have a look at Moreno in particular, who's in 4th place. But of course, the race, they've got to believe the race will come to them in their latest stint.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think they've done a really good job. You know, Gareth started P16. He's stayed out of trouble and he's doing well. If he can carry on with this pace and hop onto the soft tyre around about, I'd say lap 16, maybe 17, depending on how well he looks after his tyres. And then there is maybe we've got Meg who's retired, but that's in the pit lane. Looks like Monster Blue has now pitted. So this is the lap that I pitted on last night, and I went onto the hards. But let's see what Monster Blue goes onto. Yeah, he goes onto the hard tyres. So he's obviously planning on going for the rest of this race. Now look at Mishiro. Mishiro is, you know, going to be close on the exit, but Mishiro here, he could be in for a good shout as he's passed Monster Blue now, and he's now going to be, for the next, I would say, probably 5 to 6 laps, quite a bit quicker. So it's going to be quite interesting between these two now, these two different strategies, I think. Yeah,
it's hard to really grasp because it's such a quick pit lane exit and such a slow pit lane. But Mishiro does come out 1.4 seconds clear of Monster Blue, and this is a critical phase for a Japanese driver now. If he wants this race win, he's going to have to really get the hammer down. He count at least a little bit of a gap, and of course you'd imagine him then coming to the pits for a set of new soft tyres for his last stint. So critical now for Monster Blue is to keep somewhat close to the back of that AlphaTauri driver and not allow him to eke this gap up. It's very much a two-horse race, as it looks like the Renault of Harry has come out about a 7/10 of a second behind Moreno, who's about 10 seconds back, so he's 10 seconds off the leading pair, as Gareth is looking like he's going to be having company very soon, as we see Harry go sweeping back past into the podium position of 3rd place. So Moreno just looking after the tyres, you'd imagine, and Otari's beginning to close in a little bit on Mr. Steen. I think it was about 10 seconds. He's got it down to about 8. But the two Haas drivers, there's Mr. Steen's gone ramming into the back of his teammate Gareth. I don't know if Gareth was another virtual safety car, as I can't even begin to describe what happened between the two Haas drivers there. Gareth was maybe trying to go on the brakes and let his teammate through, and completely misread by Mr. Steen, or Mr. Steen completely missed his braking point and went flying in the back of Gareth Hall. Either way, it's a virtual safety car disaster for the two Haas cars. This does mean Mr. Steen is going to dropping out after what would be effectively, I think it would be a 4th place position, as Gareth's going to use the virtual safety car he's just caused to come and have a little bit of a cheaper pit stop, as to is Moreno. So this does really bring these two guys into the running a bit more, onto the hard tyres, you'd imagine, and going to the end. No, Moreno's going for a set of soft tyres, so that's a very bold call. He's going to be going about 17-18 laps on soft tyres. Gareth is going to come into the pit lane. What does he do? He goes onto the hard tyres, which I think makes sense. He's going to be going to the end on this, and well, I'm not sure if you saw it, Gareth, Scott, but that was a very bizarre moment.
I didn't see it, unfortunately. I was actually on board with Mishiro, just seeing what the gap was to him and Monster Blue. But yeah, you know, it's such a long straight, and I always found in practice that when you go down that slight right-handed corner, the braking boards come up quite quickly. So it could have been a mistake from Mr. Steen. It could have just been a bit of miscommunication between the two teammates. But it's a great shame, because Mr. Steen has gone for a really good result there. But yeah, like you said, this has thrown sort of people like Gareth and Moreno back in. Moreno going onto the soft tyre, he's going to be very quick. He's already onto the back of Hutari already as he comes down this back straight, and it looks like he's just driven past Hutari. So he's going to be quick now for the next sort of 10 to 11 laps, Moreno. He's got a 19-second gap to the car ahead, so not really too sure what he's going to be able to do with that. But the gap between Monster Blue and Mishiro is staying around about the 1.3, 1.4 second mark, because Monster Blue is so close to the barriers on the exit of turn 23. I thought that was it. I actually closed my eyes then, because I thought he'd just knocked his end plate off, but no, he'd done well there to stake out. But if Mr. Steen leads his session, he'd be gutted with that, I think, because he really has done well, with his comeback from that F2. But no, this is where we're now going to have a bit of a race on our hands, I think, between the two leaders.
Yeah, got a feel there for Mr. Steen, who's done a really good job. And of course, he had his up and down moments in the first half of the season, dropped down to F3, and he's come back for a few races towards the end of the season. And he's done some really magnificent performances, and his pace has really been there or thereabouts, and he was on for a really nice handful of points this evening. But sadly, whatever it was between his teammate of this evening with Gareth, it's ended up with one of the hats in the wall and a DNF. Only 11 runners left in the session. It looks like Simply Superman has had another pit stop at some point as well, because he's now dropped all the way to 11th place after starting, I believe, in 3rd position. Did the McLaren driver, so it's not been a good race so far for him, as it looks like Monster Blue already beginning to try and close back up on the back of this AlphaTauri car. And this is something obviously we was both very unsure when we was doing a little bit of practice over the weekend of the best strategy. We was trying out all the different types of tyre compounds, and I know this is definitely something I found when I use the medium tyres, and it could well be something that Mashiro is suffering with right now, is the medium tyres go off, actually run his track very quickly. In terms of a race tyre, the softs are actually a lot better, because the mediums really don't quite quickly go off after, probably I found, after not more than 5 laps. And the softs really are much better race tyre, because you can do a maximum of 12 laps on the softs, and you can only do an extra 4 more on the medium tyres, so they're not all that much more durable, but you're losing they're about a second a lap slower, about probably more than in qualifying at least, than the soft tyres. So I think Mashiro is going to be really struggling now.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, we both tried it, and I actually quite liked the medium tyre, whereas you didn't. So it's very difficult. It just depends on driver styles. But Monster Blue has really caught up to the back of Mashiro. Yeah, it looks like we'll probably have a change to the lead coming down this straight. But I could get the mediums to last sort of 16 laps, and I was still setting personal best. But it all just depends on the setup of the cars. There's so many different setups this day and age. Where you can try and sort of tweak this and that. But little Monster Blue was going for the move, but he thought better of it. There's no need for him to push. He doesn't need to do anything risky. He's probably got that in the back of his mind, that he doesn't need to go for an audacious move, because as it stands, he has won this championship. So he just needs to sit behind Mashiro, unless Mashiro's just Monster Blue clipping the wall there as well. I don't know if he's just got away with that, but he turned in slightly a bit too early to come through sector 3. He just tapped the wall, but he got away with it. As you can see, he's lost nearly a second there through sector 3. But Monster Blue, he's just got to stay calm now, unless Mashiro maybe trying to just back him up a little bit. I'm not too sure, but it looks like to me Monster Blue's got this one covered at the minute.
Yep, well, we're starting lap 14 of 28, so we're nearly at the halfway point of the final round here at Invictus F2 Season 11, and it's so far going the way of Monster Blue, who tied down in 5th position. He's going to the end. He's got the very fast, soft running car of the Racing Point Moreno ahead of him, and extending that gap very, very quickly as he would. And I think Moreno, in fact, actually could have made a good decision here, because the softs are so quick, and if you'd imagine he'd be getting you'd probably be aiming to go lap 19-20 before he pits again, and probably pitting again for another set of soft tyres, and he'll be rapid compared to the likes that come out behind, the likes of probably Jamie Ryan, Hutari, maybe even Gareth as well. But he'll have such a massive pace advantage in the final stint that he really could find himself getting 4th anyway. He's 17 seconds back from a podium, so you imagine 4th is all he's racing for, as Monster Blue again putting the pressure on Mashiro. Mashiro not enjoying these medium tyres as he would have wanted in the stint, where he really would be hoping to form some sort of gap, at least a little bit, even if it's just 5 or 6 seconds on the Mercedes. He's actually being hunted down after eking the gap up to around about 2 seconds at its peak. Is now finding himself under pressure. But one thing that's got going for him is Monster Blue getting very close to barriers on multiple occasions, getting very close to just chipping off that front wing, or worst case scenario wheel, like he did just a week ago in Russia after just a moment of lapsing concentration. There's a little wiggle out of the last corner, so he's struggling a little bit in that turbulent air, and as I say, he is prone to a mistake. Well, of course we all are on a circuit like this, and but Mashiro is coping well with the pressure he's being put under. Of course, you can run the track limits on exit of turns 2 and 3 pretty wide. You can just open up the right and left handers of 3, 4 and 5 by just going that little bit wider on the exit. And of course, if you go on time trial and you watch all the fastest times in the world, you'll see them all doing the same thing. As Monster Blue picks up a 3-second time penalty. So he's just been cutting that chicane that little bit too much. You can get away with track limits quite drastically around turns 6 and 7, particularly 6, and you can hop over the curbs at 7. But yeah, a time penalty is going to put him under a little bit more pressure now, and will give Shiro at least a little bit of a more chance, you'd think. But he's still got to say, with the pace advantage Monster Blue is having, he has another look down the inside. You've got to say, he's got the pace advantage he's got and the confidence he's got on his hard tyres. It is going to be a big ask, isn't it, for Mashiro to make his pit stop. And he's going to come out effectively, what, 20 seconds behind. It's going to be an almighty stint to really put Monster Blue under significant pressure for the race win, even with a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, it is going to be an almighty task for Mashiro, but as we said before, you know, anything can happen. You know, I don't know if Monster Blue's maybe got a light green front wing or not, but he's got a lot of understeer when he turns left. I've noticed that being on board with him for the last lap, so I don't know whether or not he's got a little tiny bit of damage where he clipped the wall or not, but he's really struggling when he turns left. He's got a lot of understeer. I can see that he loses quite a bit of time in Mashiro, so that'll be something to see. I was on board with Gareth Hall, and him and Speed Queen were having a battle on the last lap, but Speed Queen went alongside him. I think Gareth put better on her and went past. But no, as we say, Hutari, he's in a bit of a stalemate at the minute. Got a yellow flag in sector 2. I don't know who that is. That a McLaren?
Yeah, simply Superman. In fact, making the most of the reset to track feature that we have in multiplayer sessions. We do ask the drivers not to use it, but it's the last race of the season, and he's probably thinking, well, what are you going to do, penalise me? And he rejoins the track 2 seconds back from Jake in the Renault after getting his braking point just that little bit wrong into turn 11. Mashiro's clearly got some straight line speed, because it's not been an easy pass for Monster Blue as yet, but I imagine him using all the battery he can. Is he going to be brave on the brakes this time? He's had enough. He's going to send it down the inside of Mashiro. Mashiro they've gone straight, both of them in the wall. Mashiro in particular as well. So chaos in the battle for the lead. Is a yellow flag. I would imagine surely at least one of them's got damage, so both went for it. Monster Blue sent it down the inside. Mashiro turned in, they locked wheels, and they both ended up facing the wall. And that's allowed Harry now in a Renault, who's going to be dreaming of damage for the pair of them. He's only 2.2 seconds behind now. So the Renault driver, after being a distant third, is now looking at these top two. And Mashiro now picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. So imagine if it stays out, if the race is to finish now, Harry hasn't got a time penalty, he would actually win the race. So Harry has definitely turned. We would expect him to pit again as Mashiro weaving left and right. I think that might have just been in anger, I think, more than anything, to his co-driver there. But that was a bizarre incident at the hairpin, Scott.
I think that was a little bit of a desperate move from Monster Blue, if I'm being honest. He didn't need to do it. He did have the straight line speed, but he braked so late. I think he braked literally just before the 50-metre board, so he was not going to stop in time either. You had to use Mashiro to stop, and then he just he's got to be very careful with that, because that could be a penalty for him if he's not careful. Yes, Mashiro will not be happy with that, and in fact Monster Blue's letting Mashiro back through, it looks like, for me.
And it looks like he's perhaps maybe doing the honourable thing. He's letting the Japanese driver go through, a little weaving left and right for Mashiro. Who knows what that's for? Is that a thank you maybe from the Japanese driver to the Welsh driver? Either way, Mashiro has regained the lead on lap 17 of 28 as Harry in a Renault 2.5 seconds back on this pair. Moreno eking out the gap to Hutari to 9 seconds, and Speed Queen has dropped Gareth by a further 4. Rudy also closing in on that Haas car. We saw Jamie Ryan come into the pit of the end of the last lap as well in the Ferrari, so that's elevated Simply Superman in the McLaren into the final point scoring position as it stands. Only 11 runners remain from 16. Of course, we always knew a track like this was always going to be a race of attrition, and the 11 runners then consisting of the likes of Mashiro, Monster Blue, Harry, Moreno, Utari, Speed Queen, Gareth Hall, Rudy, Jake Ferrari, Simply Superman and Jamie Ryan are your 11 remaining cars, and Mashiro looking a little bit more comfortable now. He's eat the gap up to 1.2 after Monster Blue letting the Japanese driver back through after coming together at the hairpin. Harry's still about 2.8 seconds behind and is Monster Blue hopping over these curves. And both these front two on time penalties, but you would expect Mashiro and Harry to both come in again. And I think maybe let's just put it into perspective, Scott. Let him back through, just try and roll a line under it. We'll forget about that one, and I'll now just sit and wait for you to make your second pit stop, which I'm believing you're about to make pretty soon.
Absolutely, I think that weaving down the straight was a little bit of sarcasm, I think, from Mashiro to say, here, cheers to that, but I'm not happy with it. But yeah, Monster Blue to me really does seem to be struggling. I'm not too sure what it is. He's still got decent pace, but he's missing apexes. He's getting close to the barrier at the last corner. I'm not too sure what's going on with his setup, or like I said, if he's got a tiny bit of wing damage that we can't see, but he really looks up to me that he is getting a little bit of understeer. But we've got a yellow flag again in sector 2, I think. It looks like he's still back and running again. Not too sure what that is about. Looks like Gareth Hall maybe had a little moment with Rudy's now overtaking him. As again, Monster Blue so close to the barrier on the exit of that last corner. He's got to be really careful, because if he has to pit again, I know who Utari is, he's sort of 27 seconds behind, but you just don't know. And this is the sort of thing where he now just needs to sit and relax now. He's got the whole, this is his for the taking now. He's got it in grasp. So we'll see. But it's getting quite tense, I think, in that Mercedes cockpit.
Yeah, it hasn't been quite as smooth sailing as he would have liked, as again, riding over the curves massively in 6 and 7. Could well be on his way to a second penalty if he's not careful. The runner of Harry dropping back a little bit. Where have a look, he's not got any visible front wing damage, so he might just be struggling with his medium tyres at this point. I think we saw Gareth and Rudy going into combat on the hairpin of turns 11, and we saw Rudy going around the outside of the Haas driver into turn 13. We saw visible front wing damage on the right hand side of that Haas car, and I think that's why coming into the pit lane, change that front wing, got a set of soft tyres which should be alright to go to the ends, as Monster Blue is still sticking about a second gap between himself and Mashiro. I think Harry's just really struggling with his medium tyres at this point. Also, I think Moreno struggling with his soft tyres at this point. The gap now beginning to slowly come down after extending it by about half a second a lap as Monster Blue comes into the pit lane. So this is a very bold call. And not one, Scott, I was expecting to make you imagine when he put on those hard tyres that his plan was to go to the end. So this does make you think, has he got front wing damage that we can't see? I think I might actually be able to see a front wing. Yes, he is changing that front wing. So you'd imagine the contact at the hairpin has damaged his front wing. Harry's going to come into the box as well, you'd imagine, for another set of soft tyres. So, excuse me, as he also changed his front wing. So the front three all got wing damage, as minor as it may be, that we haven't got a visual representation of it. And whereas Rotari, who we know is going to the end on a one stop, I don't think he's got a damaged front wing as well. On that left hand side you can see an entire end plate missing, so he's going to be minus a lot of speed, is the AlphaTauri driver, and I think he's going to come up behind Harry in the Renault, so he's going to have still a long race to go yet, as Monster Blue's come out 24.3 seconds behind Mashiro, but he will be gaining probably quite a few, well, probably about a couple of seconds I'd imagine, actually, on a brand new set of softs on Mashiro by the time he gets to the box potentially. Well, the Japanese driver, and he's got a decision to make. Sure, has he got front wing damage, and does he change it? Because if he changes it, he might well lose track position, but if he doesn't, it'd come out surely at least a couple of seconds ahead of the Mercedes. And well, now, Scott, it really does come into play, isn't it, with time penalties. Can Harry get within 3 seconds of these guys? Because both Mashiro and Monster Blue have got time penalties. They're all on the same strategy now, you'd imagine. You imagine seeing Mashiro coming into the pit lane, and we'll see him dive off to the left-hand side very, very shortly, if he is. And indeed he is. But it's absolutely critical now for the likes of Mashiro and Monster Blue not to get another penalty now.
Absolutely, Monster Blue's already on another warning as well, so he's got to be very careful. I've got to say though, a huge shout out to Speed Queen, who I think's done absolutely fantastic comeback. After being I think she was facing the wrong way at turn 1. Got herself back up into 5th position. She's on the hard tyres, so she looks like she's going to the end of the race anyway. But great comeback drive from her. We know what she's like. She's a very canny racer, and to be back down in 16th on lap 1 and bring herself back up into 5th position, I think she'll be still disappointed with what's happened, but it's a great comeback.
Yep, and there goes Monster Blue through turns 1 and 2, and Mashiro just dives straight into turns 3 and 4, and he has got about a 2 second advantage then. He didn't need to change that front wing, so he has got fresher tyres and a Mercedes behind. It's going to be an absolute sprint to the finish for these two drivers. Also looking on in the battle for P8 and P9 is the McLaren Simply Superman and Jake Ferrari, and looks like Simply Superman on 10 lap hold medium, so he's going to have to really stretch these to the end, but he's still putting the Renault driver under pressure for that 8th position as Rudy further up the road as well. And as I say, Speedway doing a fantastic recovery, and Gareth Hall fastest lap of the race on lap 21, a 36.9 on those soft tyres. So he's trying to make a little bit of a comeback into the points paying positions. He'll be hoping for a 2 second gap is the margin that Mashiro has to manage for the end of the race. Both of them sitting on 3 second time penalties. They'll both be absolutely crucial that neither of them pick up another, as Harry does not have a time penalty. Moreno has made his second stop, I believe, and has come out in a new set of soft tyres, come out 2.4 seconds behind Speed Queen. He was ahead of Hutari before his pit stop, so he'll be looking to try and get himself back up to what he feels is a 4th place, as we see Simply Superman sending it down the inside of the Renault drivers. Jake just bouncing over the curbs, goes a little bit wide, and he's got the job done as Simply Superman moves up into 8th place, and I'm sure he'll be hoping for a lot more at the start of the race, but it's an okay recovery drive. But Monster Blue, new fastest lap of the race, 35.7, I think that's what flashed up. It looks like it took 0.3 of a second out with Mashiro on that lap alone.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I would be an absolute pain in the backside now if I was Mashiro. I would try and back Monster Blue up as much as I could, for the likes of Harry to catch up, and maybe, just maybe, Hutari to catch up within that 3 seconds. I would be doing my utmost to try and make sure that Monster Blue drops down many positions. But Monster Blue, like I said, he's a clever driver. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's already shown his nose on Mashiro tonight to say, I'm not scared of going for a move. I will go for it if I have to. So it's going to be interesting to see if them two do battle it out. If Monster Blue is willing to battle it out to the end. But yeah, if I was Mashiro, I would just start to, back down a little bit if possible. Just sort of start backing Monster Blue, getting him a little bit frustrated, make him make mistakes, and you never know what might happen with, still sort of 6.5 laps to go. But looks like to me Hutari, he has been all race really. He's been in a bit of a stalemate, with wing damage as well. He's done well to sort of stick it in 4th position. But he just needs to be careful because Speed Queen is catching him. The Speed Queen, on fresher hards, and a full front wing, so he needs to be careful with Hutari.
Yeah, and behind Speed Queen, Moreno is coming up behind him and her a rate of knots. In fact, he's already in the DRS range quite comfortably on Speed Queen. So watch him come around the last couple of corners, and the difference in grip between his brand new soft tyres and the 12 lap old hards of Speed Queen is clear to see as Rudy picks up a 3 second time penalty, as he's done that coming into the pit lane, which is a little bit unusual. So we'll see him coming in. He's going to lose a couple of positions, or in fact a few positions, I think, possibly to even Jamie Ryan. And you'd imagine he'll be coming into pits for a new set of soft tyres as they're squirming out of turn 5 was Moreno, and using a bit of overtake, using the DRS. Speed Queen just looking after hers. In fact, Speed Queen's taking about a second out of Hutari, and very quickly, I think since the last sector really. So in 2 sectors she's taken a second out of him, and Speed Queen has, I can tell you now, this riding on board with the racing board, is struggling for grip. So has Hutari maybe beating up his front wing even more, as 4th place would only be good enough if Monster Blue was to DNF. So it might well be hoping that Monster Blue tries something on his teammate and it all ends up in tears. That might be his only chance, as it looks like Moreno goes diving down the inside of the 3-time champion Speed Queen into turn 11. Nicely done. Speed Queen's got a nice exit, but will never have the traction available to her to get the job back done on the Racing Point drivers. Moreno moves up into P5 and only 2.4 seconds behind the AlphaTauri of Hutari, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the DRS zone by the end of the next lap. He will be massively quicker than the AlphaTauri driver, and there is your championship title protagonist, the man to try and stop Monster Blue for taking the championship of season 11. But it's going to be a real uphill fight, particularly when he's under pressure from Moreno and Speedquin. The gap between Monster Blue and Machiro looking like it's beginning to even out a little bit, isn't it, Scott? But it's still got to feel like Monster Blue, he's got maybe 10th over Machiro, hasn't he, a lap? And if he can get inside that DRS range, he could be on for, again, having another chance at the race win.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think he's just, yeah, like I said, he's just got a tiny bit more pace than Machiro, but following on dirty air through sector 3 really isn't nice, as Gareth Hall there twice in sector 3 has hit the wall, and I think he actually has got away with it. So he's a lucky sod tonight, isn't he, with them brand new soft tyres. But yeah, he's just decided to see what the walls feel like, to see what he thinks he's going to do if he goes into them. But Jamie Ryan picking up a 3-second time penalty there as well. But Machiro looks like he's got very good pace on these soft tyres. He's obviously enjoying these tyres a lot more than what he was in mediums, as you said. But or is Monster Blue now just sort of sitting back and thinking, you know, 4 laps to go now, no, title is mine if it stays how it is. I do not need to get too close, as again he just skims the wall on the exit of turn 23 there. But it's actually, you know, looking at the you know, how he is behind. You know, these guys were, you know, only sort of 2 seconds not that long ago, you know, in front of Harry. This shows how much pace Monster Blue and Machiro have had this season. It's a shame that Machiro had to miss out for the last 2 rounds, because he was still in contention for the title. But yeah, it just shows how quick these guys really are. You know, and Harry is no slouch either. So, you know, it's great to see from these 2 guys. But I think Monster Blue now, I think he's going to be having a Sunday drive.
Yeah, no, Harry's certainly been no slouch. He's driven a fantastic race, and really, looks like he's been asserted that podium position almost since lap 2, hasn't he? And he's not let anyone take it out of his hands, as Otari is coming under increasing pressure from the racing point of Moreno. He's about a second clear going into the last sector, but with those old hards and front wing damage, he lost that second so rapidly after just the beginning of the S's of that final sector. And I feel for him that the Finnish driver could well be easy meat by the end, by the time we get into the hairpin of turn 11. As we look at Moreno, look at him trying to get past him before the DRS. Oh dear, he's gone smashing into the wall. The gap was just closed. There's a safety car, and somehow Moreno is out. Kutari has got, I don't even know where to begin. The wall, of course, comes out. This wall sticks out, and Moreno decides to go for the inside of what is effectively turn 10. It's a flat right. There's a very small curve halfway down the straight, and when you go past that wall, when you're arriving at 200 miles an hour, I don't think Hutari or Moreno would have seen it. The wall kicks out, and Moreno leaving the session in a fury, you would imagine. Monster Blue comes into the pit lane again. Harry stays out. Hutari will almost certainly come into the box for a new front wing and a set of soft. Speed Queen also. This is going to be chaos for the last couple of rounds. What's Otari? Otari's getting in a bit of a panic. Does he come in? Yes, he does. And he's in 5th position. But, yeah, the wall sticking out. And I don't think Moreno or Otari was aware of it when you're going 200 miles an hour side by side. And Moreno just squeezed up against it, went flying across the track, took his wheel off. Somehow, Otari is still in this race.
I actually missed that totally. But yeah, it's, you know, the track is, you know, there's not a lot of room for error, is there? You know, even down the straight show, then barriers are very, very close to you. There's a few times I tried overtaking down the straight last night, and I got squeezed against it. So yeah, it's a very difficult one. Very, very, you know, I've seen Hutari's gone onto the medium tyres. I'm not too sure what he's doing there. Maybe he hasn't got any softs left. Yeah, that's a bit of a bold call there, bearing in mind there's only sort of 2.5 laps to go, so there's probably only going to be a 1-lap shootout. But it looks like to me, Harry, that the second Harry looks like he might be in for a win here.
Yeah, of course, not keeping it clean, should we say. The safety car is in this lap, which of course is sadly just how the game works. I think is just regardless, you know, it'll back the field up, but with 2 laps to go, it will come in. So we're not going to see the shootout between the rest of the field, but the top 3 are going to be on. For,
oh no!
Oh, he's hit the back of Mashiro and he's damaged his front wing. It's a 5-second time penalty for the pair of them. Mashiro will get a 5-second time penalty, and Harry's got a 5-second time penalty and a damaged front wing. So under safety car conditions, it's gone all wrong for these two. And again, perhaps the pendulum swings back into the favour of Monster Blue. They've got 34 seconds. Harry's then just stopped on the circuit. I'm not sure what that's about. Monster Blue goes through. Mashiro has now got himself a 1.6 second gap. I can't even begin to describe what is happening on the safety car restart. The rest of the field is pretty well spread out. But Harry, as you were saying, was sitting in such a golden position, not having that 3-second time penalty is well, now he's got a 5-second time penalty, which of course our stewards do look into. Of course, if it is just an innocent coming together on the safety car, they of course will get it removed for both drivers. Mashiro will certainly have his 5 seconds removed as well, because of course it is not down to the car in front. As got a yellow flag in the last sector. I think that might be Jake potentially getting his braking point wrong for the second to last corner. But the 5-second penalty removed or not, Scott, is still going to have to keep Monster Blue behind him. But Monster Blue, of course, has 4 laps, well, brand new set of soft tyres. Mashiro has already done 5 laps on those soft, so he's going to have to work for it. We're going to see these two coming into combat for one last time for the race win on the last lap.
Absolutely, if I was Monster Blue right now, I would just sit there and take it. Whether there's a 5-second penalty removed or not, he will be champion in just under 1.5 laps time, so he needs to just sit and relax and not do anything too bold, because he's done it once and we've seen a collision between the two, the top 2 in this race. So Mashiro is not one to back out of it either, so he will be going for it. He'll want this win, just as much as Monster Blue and just as much as Harry. He's had two races where he hasn't been able to join, and he was, like I said, in with the title shout, but it looks like Monster Blue has absolutely flown on this lap. He's showing his nose, he's letting Mashiro know he is right there as it turns to turn 1, and it looks like to me, as you say, Harry, they are going to have one last battle.
Well, right now, Hotari is sitting in 5th position. The only thing that's going to cost him the championship right now, Monster Blue, is a DNF on the last lap, which will give the 4th position to Hotari, which would be what he wants. So he's going to go for it, you've got to feel, but he's got to make sure it's safe. He can't afford to do what Moreno did when he came into combat with the AlphaTauri of Hotari, as it looks like Mashiro's got a little bit wide. Was there maybe a little bump on the exit, and Mashiro's left the door open, and Monster Blue sends it down the inside. And but what does this do now then for Mashiro? Well, both of them will be using overtake and their engines up to 11. Mashiro will have the DRS. You'd imagine, no, of course, no DRS because of the safety car. Mashiro is going to have a look down the inside. Is he going to send it on the Welsh driver? The champion-elect is going wheel to wheel with the Japanese driver. Mashiro sends it down the inside. Does he keep it? Oh, Monster Blue's gone very deep, and he's just about kept it out the wall. That might be the race victory gone for the champion-elect. Mashiro takes back a race leader of a perfectly executed move back down the inside of turn 1. Old soft or not, he got his braking point absolutely perfect, and even with a 3-second time penalty, and of course 5 seconds I believe, which will be, I can assure you, will be removed due to contact under safety car, which was not his fault. So Mashiro is going to round out these last couple of corners, and he will drop behind, but he is the winner of the Vietnamese Grand Prix. But Monster Blue is your season 11 F2 champion. Congratulations to the Welsh driver. The Mercedes driver has driven a storming season, and he comes across the line in style. He comes home, he will be P2 classified. He takes the championship this evening. It's another Mercedes driver who claims the title here at Invictus season 11. A massive well done to Harry, who holds onto the podium by 2/10 of a second to Speed Green, who somehow in all of that almost nabbed a podium after an unbelievable recovery drive from the back of the grid. Hutari rounds out a fantastic season. Sadly not the way he would have wanted in P5. It was a difficult race for the Finnish driver, but through sheer consistency and not making mistakes, he gave himself a shot at the title against the likes of Monster Blue, against all odds, and can be very proud of the season he's done here at Invictus in season 12. He's given us a title fight to the last round, which really is no easy feat to do when you are up against the likes of Mashiro, Beastas, and of course the new champion of Monster Blue. So a massive well done to Hotari. And driver of the day Gareth posing very campily, should we say, maybe, in his Haas overalls, and a massive well done to all the drivers. Of course, we only had, I think, was it nine finishes maybe at the end, but it is a champagne moment for Monster Blue in the black overalls of Mercedes. He claims the Drivers' Championship of Season 11 in F2, and after all the heartache and frustration and fury at himself after letting it go, letting it slip under no pressure in Russia, in Sochi, he's he's redeemed himself, hasn't he? He's claimed the second place, which is all he needed to do to claim the race victory, and he's done it as well with fastest lap. So the Mercedes driver absolutely drove a fantastic race. Rudy comes over the line P6, so a recovery drive from him as well. From P3 to P7, Simply Superman will be a little bit disappointed. Jake in the Renault had a few ups and downs in the race, but I'm sure he'd be pleased with P8 at the end of it. Gareth rounds out a night of 3 pit stops to come home P9 and get himself a couple of points. Does the F3 drive, and Jamie Ryan rounding out last of the finishers, but he does get himself a point anyway, so well done to him, and a big welcome to him to the F2 League, and he won't have many harder races than that, Scott. But what was your thoughts then on Monster Blue? He's claimed the championship, and you've got to say, I think he's deserved it.
They always say that the best man wins, and Hutaru gave fought to the end. Not a great race for him tonight. A very difficult circuit as well. But Monster Blue he's done his best. He's done exactly what he needed to do, and he's come home and he's won season 11, which is absolutely fantastic for him and the Mercedes guys.
Yeah, massive well done, and we'll hopefully try and get the top 3 into the party to try and get their thoughts on the race. But a massive well done to all 3 of them, and of course the likes of Monster Blue and Hutaru on a fantastic season. And like I said, it was consistency and just not making mistakes that really got this shot of the title for Hutaru, and he's driven a fantastic season. And Monster Blue, despite DNF in Monaco, despite a DNF last time out in Russia, has come to Vietnam, and he has completely finished off the championship in some style and done a fantastic job to bring home his championship of drivers. And he joins the list of Notorious. He joins the list of No Fudge For You, Enduran, Betrayer, Nick L.T. Thompson, the Warslander, Lozak and Jakob as previous F2 champions through the years. And of course, who knows, we might even see him in who knows, maybe we'll see him in F1 next season. We'll see how that one goes. And I think we've got Harry and Monster Blue both joining the party, and we'll see if Mashiro joins the party. It'd be good to get his thoughts after of course we'll get his 5-second penalty removed under safety car, so it'd be good to see him rounding off the season with a race win and his thoughts on it. But I'll go to our champion elect, or our newly crowned champion I should say, Monster Blue. Congratulations to you, mate. You've had a storming season. You've had ups and downs. You had a DNF in Monaco, you had a DNF in Russia, you've had 5 wins, you crossed the line, awarded victory here at Vietnam. But talk us through that one, because when you was on pole position provisionally for about 1.7 seconds and you got pole position by 3/10 in the end, it looked like it's going to be an easy race, but it turns out Mashiro was very keen to make it very difficult for you tonight.
Yeah, for sure. It was a very nervy race. You can probably see that the way I drove, to be honest. Yeah, it was just really a race just trying to finish, to be honest, after Russia being too relaxed and then winning it out of no fault of my own. This race was just to get to the end, and I was so worried. I hate overtaking, I hate that hairpin as well, because being on a pad, I understeer more than wheel users would, and I find it really tough. It's probably my hardest set of corners are hairpins for me personally. I completely understeered into Mashiro, and yeah, it was just really bad driving from me, really.
Yeah, well, it certainly gave us some real talking point in the race, because of course it was Was you ever in a position where you was thinking, no, I'm just going to sit behind him for the whole race? Because what made you change the strategy? Because it looked like when you came in from the soft tyres onto the hards, in your head was you thinking, I'm going to go to the hards to the end? You know, was it ever in your thought to just sit behind Mashiro until he pits, or was it always, regardless of whether he was on a one stop or planning to pit again, regardless of the championship, what was it that made you to decide for that move? Was you just getting a little bit frustrated?
Well, yeah, it was. I thought it'd be a lot quicker on the mediums. So I thought with him getting the advantage under the mediums, the undercut, and then I go on the hards, I thought he'd pull away from me, but he seemed to struggle on the harder tire, like the medium tires over the softs. So I seemed to keep up with him and slightly had better pace maybe after lap 5 of my hard stint. So I decided to I wasn't going to go for the overtake, but then I realised how much I was catching him in the DRS, and I thought I had to make a move. I can't just keep letting off before the hairpin. I decided to make the move, and before that I got damaged. I got yellow damage on my wing, so at that point I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know whether to stay out on the hards or to pit for softs and get another wing.
And obviously it's been a long off season. Of course, we haven't had B-Stats for the last couple of races. Of course, saw him also not being classified in Baku. It was for a long time. It was between you and him. What's your thoughts on because you had sort of really 3 championship rivals in the way. You had Utari, who of course was there at the last race. You had Beastas, who for so long was nip and tuck between you two. You two was probably the top 2 in terms of pace, and of course Mashiro's, he's missed a couple of races for illness. But he's been, particularly second half of the season, Mashiro's been very strong. You've had to really fend off some fantastic drivers this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think after Monaco and Canada, I was really like, I've either got to get my head down and get some wins. I think I worked it out, because I knew Beastas was so consistent. He was, if I was winning, he was coming second. I couldn't get a penalty because he would never get a penalty. So it was very nip and tuck there. And I think with him crashing out in Baku, I can't remember, was there a race before that where he didn't do too well as well?
Yeah,
Hungary. I think it was very similar to what I had with Monaco and Canada, just the other way around. I think I bounced back better than not he did. Obviously, he kind of just gave up, which I think he should have just carried on because he would have been straight back in after Russia. But yeah, it feels good. I was really good to get the tie after this one. It's probably the hardest one I've had this season, is to get this one.
Yeah, and you finished the season off, I think that is 8 podiums. I think you've got 5 wins, all in 12 rounds. So you've had an unbelievable season. Is there any sort of highlight in the point of you? Obviously, when you've got 5 wins, I'm sure any of them will do in a season. But what's been the high point for you? Has it been finally getting the championship, or was there a particular battle? I think we saw you, even when you came second, I think it was the early round of Austria. We saw you and Beastas, in the damp rain. That was particularly a great start to what turned out to be a long championship hunt.
I think for sure, for me certainly is Hungary, because going after Canada and Monaco, I needed to get a win, and then I kind of led the whole race, but then there was the stress of the safety car at the end, so it bunched it all together. So I was like, oh, crap. And then it got to the end, and I saw Bisas go down. I was like, oh, I'm back in it now. And then that was really like the turning point for me, and I think that was really the most important win out of all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, it was definitely a massive point in the season, and of course it was a very big moment. Of course, you drove very well that day, as of course you have all season. But so congratulations to you, and I'll move on to our 3rd place man. As I just found out, Mashiro can't he's still not feeling 100%, which of course we completely understand. So well done to Mashiro anyway. But yeah, welcome, Harry. You've I think this is only your 2nd race in F2, and you're on the podium. Is it mixed feelings? You was kind of 3rd place, a sort of distant 3rd place for much of it. Was you aware the 2 drivers ahead of you had penalties? Because when the safety car came out, it looked like the win had kind of sort of swum back in your hands. What happened under that safety car? Yeah, and we actually mentioned that on stream. You seem to be one of the few drivers who saw quite a lot of wing changes, a lot of damaged front wings. Of course, we saw you also damage your front wing under safety car. I think we also saw you make a change later on. But I mean, I think he was like 20 seconds clear of fourth place, and I think also when Monster Blue and had the tangle with Mashiro at the hairpin, he was suddenly right at the tail of these guys. Just from consistency, he put himself in a very strong position. It's only your second race here at Invictus in F2. What's your plans in the future? Also, you've got what your first podium under your belt. Are you looking forward to the new season starting? Is that your plan to come back and maybe fight for a championship over 12 rounds next season? Well, that's very good to hear, and of course qualifying as well, it looked like for all the world Monster Blue, I don't think anyone was going to really take away pole position from Monster Blue this evening. I think Mashiro got very close as well, but he had a very solid qualifying. I think he was it P4? I think he had a very solid, very solid, and it looked like it all P5, sorry. And I think there seems to be quite a lot of chaos at turn 1. I think I saw you actually quite wisely take to the runoff at turn 1, because I think it looked to myself and Scott's advantage point there was a little bit of a bottleneck at turn 1. Yeah, well, I think it was a wise decision, because there was certainly a lot of carnage and a lot of front wing and carbon fibre getting thrown about, which thankfully you managed to avoid, and managed to pick your way through the positions anyway. It's a very calm drive to third position, of course, showing about the safety car. But no, fantastic drive from you, Matt, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you quite a lot often in the future, hopefully, here at Invictus on the podium. And I'll go back to our new championship winner one last time, and obviously you've done it this season. What's your plans in the future? Are you hoping to come back to Invictus next season? Are you hoping for the challenge of being moved up a tier into F1, or are you still hoping to maybe be on the grid in F2 and reclaim your crown? What is your plans for next season?
I don't actually know yet. It does depend on what I do on my Monday evenings. That's just in real life. I might do five-a-side football, I don't know yet, or if I do PSGL, because I think I might do IRL next year, F1. I'm definitely turning off ABS. It's just what I do next, essentially. I have to decide between PSGL and IRL. But yeah, I'll make that decision in the next week or so, I think.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm sure speaking on us all, we hope to have you back on the grid next season. It's been great watching you this season, regardless of your decision. You've obviously taken the championship crown, and very thoroughly deserved it as well. Scott, what are your thoughts? Of course, we saw on Monster Blue season, obviously you've came in halfway through the season, obviously picking up from where Charlie left off, and he's been really unbeatable, hasn't he, at times?
Absolutely, yeah. I think he's like I said from the start, he's been the man to beat. He's apart from Russia, and Monaco, he's definitely been the best on the grid in my eyes. Especially with qualifying, as I said, during the race. If you get a good qualifying position and you can qualify at the front, it makes your life a lot easier in the race. It's better than starting sort of 5th, 6th, or 7th, especially like we saw in lap 1 tonight. It's a big bottleneck when you've got a tight street circuit. So it's congratulations to Monster Blue for the title, and I don't know why he's contemplating on five-a-side football or IRL racing on a Monday night. It's an easy answer for me, but congratulations to Harry for his podium. It's a great drive. I said to you, Harry, or commentator Harry, should I say, halfway through the race, he's been no slouch, and I think he's going to do well, and he's taken my word for it and come through with a solid third position, so well done for that as well.
Yeah. Well, he certainly did that in the best way possible, recovering to a podium this evening, and like I said, making the most of all of it. And we, of course, hopefully look to see you on the grid as well in F2 next season. And of course, it'd be good to see what you can do over the course of a season as well. Of course, only your second start here, so massive well done to you, and massive thank you to all the drivers this season, those who have driven one race or all 12. all the F3 drivers who have stepped in the last few rounds to plug the gaps and give us a great race on a Tuesday night. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to those, of course, who left midway through the season for whatever reason. It's been fantastic racing to commentate and spectate on, and you've given the viewers, I think, a really nice season to look back on. And of course, we've got a couple-month break until we get back racing again here at Invictus. And the drivers, I think, all fully deserve it. Thank you so much to the admins of particularly Meg Luffy, who's had a wretched season, hasn't he, poor Scott? But you know, he does so much for the league off the track, and we wish him all the best of luck.
I think he's going to have vertigo after this season, the amount of times he's been spinning around.
Yeah, I think if anyone needs a 2-month break from racing, it might be poor Meg. Just hasn't caught a break all season, but he does so much effort off the track for Invictus, so we hope for better luck for him. And of course Hulkenberger as well, for taking on admin roles I think halfway through the season for the league, and being a real outlet for the drivers. Thank you to all those who consistently tune in on a Tuesday night. We hope that you've enjoyed the season of season 11. We hope you've enjoyed the title race between particularly the top 4 drivers of Mashiro, Utari, Beastas and Monster Blue. All 4 of them have been absolutely terrific, and of course all those drivers below them as well who have turned in, of course putting some great performances over the 12 rounds. And of course I suppose I've got to thank you, Scott, as well, jumping in, filling in Charlie's boots halfway through the season. I think it's only your 5th or 6th commentary. I think you've done a really good job, mate. I think you've taken it to a duck to water, or whatever they're saying. I think you've done a really good job, mate. So thank you so much for joining us, myself, on a Tuesday night. And of course, as you say, there's still plenty of racing yet to come. Wednesday night, F3 and F4 on the PS4 League live on YouTube. Thursday night, Realistic Performance League live on YouTube by Malcolm Tim. You can see Scott Bugner go for the championship on that one live on YouTube. And of course, we also have the Spa race of F3 and F4 next Wednesday. That'll be the only race going, as we did not race in Spa all those weeks ago due to PSN troubles. And of course, our socials at Invictus Racing League, Twitter at Invictus RL. You can find us on Facebook, and of course, if you want to get yourself signed up on the grid for season 12, which will be starting in January, go to the Invictus website or go to any of our socials. You can find out there how to get your applications in, signed up and ready to go. And of course, if you sign up with premium, you can get yourself guaranteed your seat on the grid, and of course you have priority teammate and priority car choice for your division. So thank you all those for tuning in. I hope you had a very good evening. Of course, I hope you have a very good 2 months, a very good Christmas, and have a very good New Year. And we hope to see you again very soon here at Invictus Racing League. Good night.